People who play cozy life sims are used to doing work. Spiritfarer, Stardew Valley, Cozy Grove, Animal Crossing, all of these are about getting a job and learning to do it well. Minekos Night Market is another game that puts you to work, but unfortunately, there's little here to make it worth getting up in the morning for. You play as Mineko, a girl who's just moved to a remote island with her dad, and immediately, you're given back-breaking labor. Within the first few minutes, you have to craft items for your neighbors, become a merchant at the village's famous night market, and get more people to move in. That's not to mention how you're forced into a mystery surrounding a giant cat spirit named Nico. It's somehow fallen on your shoulders to save this dying island. Sure, the island is a colorful place with cute, bouncy animations and adorable purring cats, but in building a world where a girl has to save a town through work, the developers at Meowza Games forgot that the work has to have a point. When you get to the village, you're immediately thrown into a new life consisting of 3 things: gathering resources to make stuff to sell, gathering resources to make stuff to gift, and solving the Nico mystery, which involves getting rid of some unruly secret agents. There isn't much time spent on getting to know most of your new neighbors. They just start asking you for favors in exchange for crafting recipes so you can go make more stuff. It's kind of rude, actually, especially since they don't give you much in return. You meet a lot of people throughout your journey, but they're too broadly categorized to be interesting. There's a girl named Hannah who likes boy bands, and a boy named Hattie who wears a hat. Oh, he's also into baseball. They only have a couple of lines of dialogue each, so until you manage to get the item they want, they'll just repeat the same canned words. And since it can be many hours until you're able to complete these quests, you'll spend a long time not getting to know any of them. There are a couple exceptions to this rule. One is Bobo, who becomes a companion of sorts while you're going through the main story and has some of the best dialogue. A lot of his jokes have a meta quality to them, like how he suggests you use combat to take out the agents infesting the island, even though there isn't any combat in Minekos Night Market. He also has a mom whose name is Bobo's mom, who runs the general store. Yes, it was very lucky that she would eventually have a son named Bobo. That would have been weird otherwise. There's also Miyako, who's the Gary Oak to your Red. Otherwise, every other character consists of the favors you do for them. Completing these side quests levels up your relationship, but you don't get much out of those interactions. Finishing a neighbor's quest line does give you a conclusion, but they're unexciting. For example, Saki doesn't like her family, but if you give her a few things, she realizes, hey, family isn't so bad. Similar games have managed to make these interactions more worthwhile. In Spiritfarer, gifting items not only increases your relationship level, but also unlocks conversations that flesh out those characters' backstories and your connection with them. In Stardew Valley, trying to find the best item for certain NPCs is also a mini game in and of itself, and you can even get married. In Minekos Night Market, all you get are a couple lines, a new crafting recipe, and another favor, and that's it. Pretty anticlimactic. The most important relationship, though, is with Nico. He's the one character you actually have meaningful conversations with. But beyond a couple moments where the story progresses and a few times where he can help with a puzzle, he mostly stands in your backyard and can help you gather resources. All of this makes a lot of Minekos Night Market feel empty and without purpose. Sure, you help Nico out, but what's the point of crafting gifts for your neighbors or items to sell except to get more money? The incremental changes that occur don't make your tasks any easier or introduce a new, exciting element to play around with. It just moves you along to the next week where you just repeat the same tasks over and over again. These strange character interactions are just one of the symptoms of the larger issue plaguing Minekos Night Market. It's a grind that never lets up. Every day you wake up, travel by bus to one of the resource areas, gather materials, and come home. You can only go to one per day, so you have to plan your week wisely. It's a decent attempt to limit the amount of resources you can gather, but it mostly works just to pad out the length. These materials include the basics, like wood, fish, paper, and flowers, and get occasionally weird with hairballs from the cat farm. Yes, the cat farm, where the kitties are round, abundant, and definitely don't grow out of the ground. Gathering is pretty simple. Besides flowers and hairballs, which are the easiest of the materials to gather, there's a little timing minigame for each. But while these vary slightly in concept, they all play a little too similarly. They're not interesting or challenging. Each just works as a quick obstacle before getting the item you want and nothing more. You turn these materials into items to sell, which you do through other timing-based minigames. You'll need this money for buying food and drinks for energy, but more important are new tools to unlock their corresponding resource areas. But before you start using these new locations, you need to get rid of the agents infesting those areas by freeing the cats they've captured. This involves running around and either avoiding the agent's flashlights or pretending to be an errand boy and getting them stuff scattered around the area to distract them. I thought that each level would have its own gimmick, but I soon realized there were limited ideas for variety and it got repetitive quickly. Mineko can help here, but it doesn't make the puzzles any more challenging or interesting. The pacing is arguably where Mineko's night market suffers the most. It starts off so quickly, but then slows to a crawl because it can take a while to gather certain resources and earn the cash needed to buy new crafting benches and tools. This means there are long stretches where you're just grinding and nothing else is happening. You only get reprieves on Saturday nights when the night market opens, and even then, you're all about your work. You see, the success of the night market falls on you. So the more you sell, the more you level up the market. With each level, the market gets more stalls, and you get the ability to lay out more items for customers to browse. There's also a different event each week, a parade, a play, a race, and a hunt, but they repeat each season. There are 4 weeks per season, so after the first 4 markets, there aren't too many surprises left. You work so hard to rebuild the island, the night market, and to get rid of the threats against Mineko, but there's a disconnect between your actions and the story. There are points where you do have an impact on events, like when you gain access to a new area and have to free trapped cats, when you help your dad, or when you progress Nico's story, but otherwise, it feels like Mineko just does things because the genre demands that you constantly need to do work. You craft items for people, which makes them happy, and sell stuff, which makes the night market happy. It's nice to see it expand with new stalls coming in that finally introduce variety, but it's just not enough. It feels like you're just doing stuff. The labor has to have a point in games like this. In Animal Crossing New Horizons, crafting helps make the island look like almost anything you want and gives you money to pay off your debt. Mineko, by contrast, is put to work so quickly and has few other outlets that she doesn't feel like much of a character at all. The developers try to get around the banality and cruelty of it by inserting some meta humor that seems to call itself out for arbitrary mechanics and story events, but that just feels like a distraction. The work feels like it's never going to end. Mineko's Night Market is a sweet-looking game that seems like something that fans of life sims like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing should love. The cats are round, the world is colorful, and the dialogue can be funny. But it doesn't do enough to legitimize why anything is happening. Why does Mineko have to work so hard? What do you get in return? It traps you in a grind of making crafts for lifeless NPCs and a market without a purpose, and it doesn't provide anything to make it all worth it. For more, check out our review of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the Teal Mask DLC, and Park Beyond. And for everything else, stick with IGN.